We're live.
We are live. Look at that.
Look at that. We always say that we're live, and yet we're just recording it. Nobody comes in and views these. So
I feel alive is what I'm trying to say.
We feel alive.
I'm
Google
alive.
makes us feel alive. All right, right on.
Staying alive.
Let's
cool.
just go ahead and get into the podcast. What do you say?
Okay.
All right, man. First things first, last week was a crazy episode with Elise Meter, man. What did you think about that one?
That was a cool interview. Oh man, totally like superwoman, supermom, vibe, all up in that. All of her work amazes me, blows me away. I can't get even Catherine, my fiance's niece, to be that candid with me. So oh man, everything she said, just no words. Just
and it was so just like, it's kind of flowed. You know what I mean? She just kind
so
of
casual about it too. Like she is like, oh, me? Like very, very cool. Very, very, natural about it.
Yeah, no, it was a great episode. So, Elise, if you're listening to this, thank you again so much for coming on. Seriously, it was a monster episode, and I can tell that from the response that you've been getting on your Facebook as well as ours that everybody else liked it too. So, thank you again so much. Which brings me to our next point: is that
newsletter.
That's right. All the words right out of my mouth, man. The newsletter on our site, if you haven't gone and you signed up for this, first off, it's not just a newsletter. Like, I think that newsletter is the wrong word for this. Basically, you go and you sign up, and we're going to keep sending you just like the best information that we can gather from the internet, as well as once you sign up, you immediately get our 5 best tips to start taking better photos like today.
But also tomorrow, but definitely today.
Yeah. Always live in the present moment. Forget the past. It's gone. There's nothing that you can do about it.
Done.
Think about today. What are you going to do today to start growing your photography? And I think that with the 5 tips that we compiled together, I think that it's a fantastic start. And if you don't implement them, then you're missing out. What are you doing? So, like I said, go sign up for the newsletter. It's a good one.
Go right now.
That I walked over your words.
Go right now. Do it.
Just do it. Just listen to the Callum. You don't want to make Callum angry.
Do it. I'm not. Yeah, Canadian angry. I'm sorry.
I've seen you get angry. It's no joke, man. You don't do that. You don't make Canadians angry. Seriously, though, today is an awesome episode. First, because like I said, the newsletter is seriously a good one. We've put in a lot of time compiling our list of best tips just for you. So if you like it, obviously share it with a friend, have them sign up for the newsletter as well, because our plan is just to keep putting out great content on top of the podcast. And every single week. Who doesn't want like the best tips delivered to them every single week? There's none of this like, everybody's always complaining that they don't have enough time, And, one thing that takes a lot of time is searching for like videos on YouTube, searching Pinterest for like, kind of questionable photography information. And this is the only way that we've been able to find to hand deliver, or I guess deliver our hand-picked content.
We're doing it for you. We're not, I would just read the things and close them. We're keeping the links and send them to you, or we're just putting the information right in the newsletter when we can.
Yeah, absolutely. And there's also lots of hidden gems. So, there's stuff that we have to edit out of these podcasts to cut them down for time. And just maybe we'll be including it in the newsletters as well.
You just told them the secret recipe right there, Raymond.
Well, I mean, there's only one way to find out if it's true or not, right?
That's true, man.
Have you signed up for the newsletter yet, Callum?
Crap.
Well, I guess you create it, so it's okay if you don't sign up for it. But everybody else, if you're not creating this newsletter, then you should definitely go sign up for it and be the first one to get it.
What are we going to talk about today? What are we doing?
Well, you're going to ask me what I did this week.
I don't even know what day it is. What did you do this week, Raymond?
This week, it's been a lot of playing with, I'm going to sound like I'm just beating a dead horse here. My Fuji X Pro 2, brand new camera. I've been playing with it a lot, and it's been a blast. It's really hasn't been much more than, what I talked about previously. It really feels like this old school camera that has this awesome vibe to it, more so than my XT1, which, like I said in the previous podcast, feels almost futuristic. It's really weird how they're, essentially, they're both mirrorless cameras. They're both made by the same manufacturer. They're both interchangeable lenses. A lot of the things are the same, and yet they feel like such different cameras. And I cannot wait to get it at a wedding to see how it performs. It's really exciting. So
sounds awesome.
Yeah, it's been pretty exciting. A lot of it's been cleaning up my office. As you can see, it's a little bit cleaner than it was last time, but yeah, nothing really major. What about you? What have you been up to this past week?
This past week, what I've been doing? I been doing some personal project research. I head out, for Washington on Thursday.
Have you got that Fuji X100 yet?
No. None of that. I've done none of that yet. I'm just, it's just I got no excuses. I'm just gonna roll out of this one. This is a burning house on fire. I'm just gonna roll it.
Yeah, you can't. You just have to. You just have to keep moving on. You can't try to explain yourself.
It'll get there. I'm not even worried at this point when I get it. It could be the S, could be the T, could be 1 week from now, could be 1 month. I'm not even going to put dates on it now. When the right one comes along, it'll fall in my hands and I won't look back. But until then.
All right, fair enough.
I also kind of want to see what the X200 is going to be like, just in case.
You can play that game your entire life, man. You can play that game your entire life.
The game of life. You know what else happened this week, Raymond?
What's that?
I had my photos stolen.
What? Your professional photo, was it a client? What do you mean your photos were stolen? Did you lose a hard drive?
Photos online were duplicated and used on someone else's site without permission by another photographer.
Whoa, another photographer took your photos and claimed them as their own?
Put a watermark on them and everything.
Not only did they just take the photos off your website, but they removed your watermark and put theirs on it?
Yeah, I don't even use a watermark. Screw that. But they put one of their own on.
They had to go out of their way to put a watermark on your photos and claim it as their own.
Absolutely. I might not even be the only one.
Whoa. This is news, man. This is like breaking the cardinal rule of photography.
Totally not cool.
No, that's not cool at all. So what happened?
So yeah, I was actually, watching, I think I was watching like Mad Men because Catherine and I never got through that series, not related to this story, but sitting there and I got a message on my phone and it was from a photographer from somewhere and said, hey, did you know that this website is using one of your photos? And I said, whatever, I'm watching TV right now. I'll deal with that later. And when I opened up, I guess she's like, oh, I did some reverse Google search images because this person used one of mine and your website came up, so FYI. And I thought, oh, that's kind of crazy. So I went to the website and there it is, among 25 or so other photos was one of my engagement session shots from last summer.
No kidding.
For real.
Did you reach out to him? What happened?
I have the draft email set, and I'm gonna send them, probably a very sarcastic email, and then attach an invoice for image usage and licensing for the time they've had it so far. They want to keep licensing it, they can, but they're gonna pay for it.
Yeah, geez, and of course give you credit. But wow.
Yeah, so there's not much else I can do until I hear back from him. I don't think I'm the only photographer, obviously, with someone reaching out to me, and I think there are others that I've seen in Toronto. This person might have been targeting Toronto photographers because maybe they're from the area or from another city in Canada. Just used our work with no regard or thought to what we put into our work. No kind of respect for even themselves. Never mind me. But themselves, you don't have, whatever the reason they're using it, they don't have to have, some sort of great portfolio or something to start. They just have to have any portfolio and should be their work, not, not somebody else's. It's not a collection of other images Speaking of,
Yeah.
I've got to get all your photographs off my website real quick. Shit.
Yeah, you know what? Let's talk about this. Let's dedicate this episode to this because this is quite a topic, and I think that it's going to be pretty important for our listeners because when you're starting out in photography, it is so easy to look at everybody else's work and think, why doesn't my work look like this? And assume that somebody else is getting a lot of work because of these photographs that they're showing.
Yeah,
And there's merit to that. That's absolutely true. You know, what's the point of having a website if you can't show off the caliber of your work?
for sure.
But where this becomes a problem is obviously once somebody decides to steal somebody else's photos and put them on their website for a few reasons. And the biggest one being that, and you touched on this just a minute ago, is that they're lying to themselves. It's not fair to them. They're cheating themselves. They cannot promise that caliber of work. If somebody else, if a couple were to come to a website, say, hey, I really like that photo that wasn't theirs. I want you to replicate it for me. It would be almost impossible to do so because, well, you didn't take the
That's
photo, so you don't know how to do it.
took took the idea right out of my head. I'm obviously upset, that someone's taken my work, tried to pass it off their own, and has maybe clients. They might have clients, based off my work, and but what really drives me to, it really grinds my gears, as Peter Griffin would say, is that they're lying to themselves. They're not willing to, and this is what you said, like, why doesn't my work look like X, Y, or Z? Someone else's work. That's because that's their interpretation of a moment, of a scene, of what art is, and your art is not going to look like someone else's art, ever. Even if you guys are both staying in the exact same place, at the exact same time, framing on the exact same thing, you're going to do things differently than someone else. And that makes you an artist in its own right. You should never look at someone else's work in hopes of trying to completely replicate them. Be inspired? Sure. Replicate? No.
Right.
And
You know, I think this is kind of funny, is that every time I go to some sort of workshop with like a famous photographer or a very well-known photographer, and like you see their caliber of work and you think, man, like this person is really good. I have to go to this workshop and find out like what it is that makes this person tick. Every time I go to one of these workshops, we then go on some sort of photo walk and then like we shoot with the new techniques that we've kind of been taught.
right.
And I always think that it's so funny how after the workshop and like you see everybody's photos, how, a dozen or so photographers were in the exact same place at the exact same time, shooting the exact same subject, and every single photo looks completely different.
Yep. Absolutely.
So, cheating yourself,
It's the bigger crime in the end.
it is the bigger crime. You're absolutely right. You're
It's
absolutely right.
very little about stealing my work that I'm going to make anyways, and that's, and rightfully that person should know it's wrong to steal someone else's work in any medium, in any line of work. I had a journalism journalist who is a friend of mine reach out to me, and she said, this is the bane of my existence. Like, these weird websites just take your content, copy paste, it's up in 10 seconds, and they never look back. But you're cheating yourself as an artist, whether you write or you take photographs or you paint. You're cheating the artist that you want to become. And and if that means you have to take 10,000 bad images, as the golden rule, you're not helping yourself become what you want to become. And that's the bigger crime. That's the bigger loss to your life. That's, I can't even stress that anymore. And I had this
No,
conversation with my fiance. I was like, you can't just, stealing someone's work is bad in itself, but you don't become a better photographer. It's the same if you just tried to become the next Ryan Brenizer, Sam Hurd, Elise
Callum Pinkney.
Muir. I'm trying to become Callum Pinkney. Replicating someone else is a bad way of becoming your own artist. There's no other way to frame that.
Yeah, no, you're right. You're right. I think just as you were talking about that, that made me think it's like, okay, I'm just trying to put myself in this other photographer's head. So, like, what is the point of stealing somebody's photos? It is to get more work or get recognition, right?
Sure.
You want people, I mean, kind of the perk of being a photographer is that a lot of people look at your work and they're like, wow, that's a really good photo. The recognition turns into paid work.
Sure.
All that you're doing at that point is just getting the recognition, and you're closing the door at the potential for work, because you're never ever going to be able to deliver that sort of caliber.
You're
So
going to let people down.
you're always going to let people down. Here's the thing. You never know what it is about a photo that somebody likes. Okay? As Ansel Adams says, there's two viewers to every photograph. The photographer and the person viewing the photograph, right?
Yes.
So I've been in situations where I, have met with couples, and it's like, cool, let's talk about, your photography. What is it that you guys are looking for? Because I try to cater a little bit of my services to them, like whatever it is that they're looking for. If they want me to be completely hands off, I'll be completely hands off. If they want me to coach them through every pose, like I'll do that. Like, that's fine. And talking to them, maybe they'll have like a few photo examples that they like. And typically, that's kind of scary road to go down, because suddenly you have these expectations that you're going to make your photos look exactly like this other photographer's, and that's kind of hard. But you really have to ask yourself the questions, or you really have to ask the clients the questions. There's been times where I've asked, it's like, so I really hated the photo, right? Future bride showed me a photo and I completely hated it, and I immediately thought like, oh, she's not going to like any of my work. Like, just based on this photo, I know that I'm not going to be able to deliver anything of what she's looking for. And there's nothing wrong with that. It's just what she envisioned her wedding to be.
Sure.
I wouldn't be able to deliver. So I asked specifically, instead of saying, you know what, I'm not going to be able to deliver this kind of work, maybe I can refer you guys another photographer. I just simply asked, what is it about this photo that you like? Like, I really want to know. And her simple answer was like, oh, I just like, her shoes. I like the way that, her shoes, it really like makes the rest of her body look good. And it's like, oh, okay. Suddenly it's like, oh, okay. Maybe I can still be the photographer for you. And I ended up shooting the wedding, and it's like raves upon raves upon raves from this client that for 1 second, I thought about walking away, because I didn't think that I would be able to match this person's vision, because I saw the photo different than how she saw it. So if a couple were to come to your website with photos that you've stolen, you can say, hey, here's a couple here next to a brick wall, or whatever the photo was, and say, oh yeah, I could do that. I could take a photo of a couple next to a brick wall. But you don't know what it is that person likes in that photo. Maybe she likes the way that the bride is looking at the groom. Maybe she likes the way that, there's a little bit of wind and it shows some activity in the hair or something like that.
There's so many elements to what makes a photograph that's so individualistic to the actual viewer, with those eyeballs. That's another thing, is like when I meet with couples, I ask them, when we come to meet, keep in mind a few of my blog posts that you really love the weddings of, and trying to think of some photos, you can use examples when we talk about the style that you love, because this is a good way for me to assess whether the style I'm shooting is going to be a good fit for them. And more times than not, I go, okay, well, what wedding did you really love off the website? And they'll name a couple, and instantly in my head, I'll go, okay, here's in my head 5 images I think are like the showstopper images of that blog post. And more often than not, they connect with none of those 5. They go, oh, I love this little moment in this, like, just maybe a micro moment or something. And I go, oh, that's amazing. That's like something I do regularly throughout the day. I don't even have to worry about whether my style is going to be a conflict with you. That's great. And that happens a lot. But the person who takes a photograph that they've never actually created, it's such a shame, because they could develop their own style that they want to portray to the world, and they don't get a chance to do that. They just assume that, one photograph can be done by anybody. A Picasso is not going to, look the same when Rembrandt paints it. It's just not going to happen. Using the 2 most obvious examples of classic art, it's not going to happen. It's going to look different. Van Gogh is not going to be able to do modern photorealism. He's going to do abstracts, especially as he got older in his age.
I get it though.
So It's a real shame because I'm gonna have to, be this like tough guy on email and be like, this is not cool, and I'm not like maybe I give off the face like I'm a tough guy, but like, yeah, not really. So I don't
Yeah,
know how this is
yeah.
gonna go.
You definitely seem like a tough guy to me for sure. I'm scared of you. I'm not gonna
Yeah,
lie.
we fight beavers in the dam. They get their boxing gloves on, and we go 10 rounds. I usually lose because they're really tough, but I go 10 rounds.
You last. Yeah, and
Yeah.
that's what matters.
I don't know what else to tell you about this situation. It's such a shame. That's really like the driving point behind all of this. I was like, this person probably can take a photograph. They just don't know it.
Okay, I got a question for you. When you
Yeah.
first started off, shooting, was there at any point where you like looked at another photographer's work and thought like, man, I just really wish that I could be this good?
Yeah, with certain aspects of photography. I realized very early, through the help of some really established, really good photographers that probably helped me progress a bit faster than I would have by myself. There was, technical things about photography that I looked at and said, damn, I really want to be that good at 3-point off camera flash, for example. Now I feel pretty adequate, but I know I can get better.
Hmm.
Back then, posing I thought I was pretty bad at, especially my first year. I thought, I avoid posing people, and I say I'm like, I don't pose you specifically because I didn't feel great about posing when I did it. But then, I actually just had to go do it. I just had to like struggle through it, and eventually I got better. But with that said, I always knew I had like a vision of what I thought good photography is. I never looked at, even Jonas Peterson. I went to his workshop last year. I think he has great photographs, but, I can definitely see myself shooting in such different ways than what he does. And that's totally awesome. That's why Jonas does what he does. Raymond Hatfield does what he does, and why I do what I do. It's 3 different looks, and every photographer has a different way of doing it.
Yeah. Okay. Well, okay, then let me ask you this. Let's say that you were starting off all over again and you were looking at a photographer whose website that let's just assume that this guy really loves your work. Obviously, he likes it enough to have taken your images, right? He wouldn't take your image if he didn't think that your work was good, right?
That's absolutely true.
Okay.
Yeah.
So now let's put ourselves back in his shoes. What should he have done instead of stealing your photos? Should he have reached out to you to say, hey, can I come shoot with you sometime? Should he have found models and tried to replicate the photos that you took? Should he have just given up completely? Or was his best option just to steal your work?
Definitely not his best option to steal work ever. That is not the best way to go. Unless your job is to steal work, in which case, then if you're a bank robber, unpaid, great job. Any of those could apply. He could have reached out and just said, I really loved how you took that photo up against that barn wall. How did you get that emotion? What is it about your post processing? There's tons of resources out there how to emulate different types of film, or how to make your own presets. There's tons of tutorials out there for posing. The biggest one is always going to be actually doing it yourself.
Yeah. So wait a second. You're saying that it's going to take work to become successful?
I know. It's gonna take work, and it's gonna take time. It's not an overnight thing. I can't break it down. It's just you can't like. It took me all this time to get to where I am today. Same with you, right?
No
It's
way. I got famous overnight.
yeah. You just picked up a camera as a baby, and you were just like, "Bazam."
No, actually, the way that it worked was that I was working in a factory, and then one day my Twitter just blew up, and it said that I was a famous photographer, so I thought I should buy a camera. So
Oh man, yeah,
that's
that's
cool.
totally how it happens all the time.
Yeah. See, I mean, that doesn't happen. That never happens. That doesn't happen to anybody.
No,
You
never.
really do have to put in the work, like a lot of work. But maybe you don't, maybe you're happy with the way that you take photos at home, and all that you want to do is just share them with family and friends. You're not trying to put this really artistic spin on your photos. But however, I'm guessing that if you're listening to this podcast, you do want to get more out of your photos, and that is who you are. But I think I just thought of this right now. So if this doesn't make any sense, let me know. If you just want to get better at taking pictures of your kids, the last thing that you're gonna do is take photos that other people have taken of their kids and claimed it as your own.
Yep, that's right.
You thank you. You're going to have to just pick up the camera and you're going to have to start shooting. So maybe people should start looking at everybody else's photographs as the people in them as the photographer's kids. It just doesn't make sense to take
Yeah.
somebody else's work. Just go out and take the photos yourself.
It's just weird, and I guess, the opportunist, and, there's always going to be people stealing someone's, stuff, and that's the way of life,
It's the easy way out.
Totally. And I think we don't have to, kick a dead horse, over on our listeners to explain that they don't need to steal photos. It's just, you're never going to do what you want to do unless you get out there and suck for a little while. Ira Glass has like that epic audio. It's actually a video, I think, done, and he talks about having, style and vision and sucking for a long time. And he says you just got to keep doing it and doing it and doing it and doing it, and eventually it will click and it will happen and you will get better. And if you want to be recognized for it, if you work for it, you will be recognized. It doesn't happen overnight. I'm going to personally find that link. I have it bookmarked, and I am going to make sure we put it in the podcast show notes so that if you want to be inspired, especially if you're someone who's brand new to photography, you can be inspired.
Yeah, right on, man. I can't wait to see that. That is going to be a good one. Absolutely.
Raymond, I think this is just this episode, this podcast is a really good learning opportunity, at the expense of me and I guess my photographs that were stolen, for our listeners to know that it takes a certain amount of time to nail your vision down and to take the photographs you're proud of. I took bad photographs. You took bad photographs. I still take bad photographs.
Not me, bro.
No, not Raymond. Everyone else, Raymond takes only good photographs. The rest of us, including me, sometimes we take bad photographs. That happens. It's okay. That means you're growing and getting better. What's important is that you take a look at those photographs and see where you can get better and what you can do to raise your game, raise your skill set, and just create art, images, photographs, whatever that you love. There's no other way around that. It's just, that's the best learning, opportunity. If you can get that every week, you should have that. You should just know that it's going to happen. Be patient. You know what that guy should have done, Raymond? You know what he should have done?
What?
Instead of stealing my photos,
What should he have done?
signed up for the newsletter.
Our newsletter. Yeah, he should have got those 5 quick tips to start taking better photos today instead of stealing work.
That's right. Maybe you can reach out to him for me and say, hey, do you want some tips?
Yeah.
And he'll be taking photos you're, on your own in no time.
Yeah, I'm not going to give any of the tips away, but one of them is not steal other photographers' work. I agree, man. The only way that you are going to be able to grow is just to be able to do something and do something that you love. And another little anecdote here is that the last thing that I would want is for somebody to see my work, hire me, and then just be disappointed, that I wasn't able to deliver exactly what they liked. There's nothing like a client hiring you for the work that you've shown them and them loving what you deliver. Like so much. It's just good. It feels so good. It's like because you created this out of nothing. Like if you weren't there, there would have been no camera. Like you created this out of your mind. It's 100% yours. And then when you gave it to them, they thought, wow, this is great. Like
this is better than what I saw.
This is better than what I saw because, it means something to them and it's what they expected to get delivered to them.
It's everything and more that they wanted. It's perfect.
Everything and more that they wanted. It's being a genie, but better.
Genie up.
Genie up. Okay,
Hashtag
I like it. Callum, this was a slightly shorter podcast today, but I think that we really hammered in exactly what it is that is important to being a photographer and being a successful photographer who's very happy and fulfilled with their work.
Oh, absolutely. And I was sitting down with a painter earlier today talking about fulfilling work and where we want to be in 5 years, 10 years, 20 years, and he's like 70. I don't know what his actual age is, but he's late 60s, 70s. He's in his 70s, I think. And he's just now doing the absolute exact thing that he wants to do. Like,
Wow.
and he's so happy.
That is inspiring, man. That
He
is
never
so cool.
stopped. He never stopped. He just kept doing it day after day.
So
Working.
he didn't like go buy a Van Gogh and hang it on his wall and claim that it was his?
Wouldn't fly, but no, he wouldn't do that. This guy is pure, zany and pure. And that's the greatest lesson. You know, your vision is what's going to, you know, you're going to be recognized for it. You know, there's always something for someone out there. So,
I love it.
Raymond, I think we've you know given such a great lesson to our listeners. So we want to hear from you. You know, where is your vision? Where is your vision going? Tell us about that this week. Hit some Facebook comments up on the page. Tell us what you want to be doing in a couple of years, 5 years, and how you're working today to get there.
Yeah, that's a good one. That's a good one.
Even if that just means that you are, you know, learning photography to go on a safari trip in 2 years, and you want to be able to take killer pictures on a safari trip. We want to hear about it.
Oh, I get it. Like a lion eating a gazelle or something. Killer
That was
pictures.
not the pun I was looking to make, but it is now, I guess.
Awesome. I love it. And you know what? You know what I think is cool about photography is that you can kind of document your journey.
Absolutely.
We want to be right there with you. So,
Hashtag
you know what you should do?
Hashtag it.
Hashtag it. So every time that you upload a photo to Instagram, upload a photo to Facebook, we want to be included in your journey in photography. So go ahead and hashtag it. Hashtag my BPP for Beginner Photography Podcast. My BPP. We're hoping to start a community. We really want to see your shots, and we want others to, give you encouragement and tell you what it is that they love about your work, and just, keep you from stealing other photographers' work, because that's no fun.
That's what we want to see.
Right on. Well, unless you have anything else to say, Callum, I think that this was a fantastic episode.
This was a totally cool episode. I think it was important to talk about this,
Except for the part where your photos got stolen. It was a pretty cool episode.
That was the downer. But we'll take it, For every, there's, dark spot, there's light.
That's a good way to look at it.
We'll
the dodge and burn of life.
The dodge and burn of life.
One last time, be sure to sign up for that newsletter. Seriously, we want you guys to have these 5 quick tips because I think that they're great. And honestly, when I was starting out, I wish that somebody had given this to me. It's just all the information that we've come up with over the years. And of course, we're just going to keep sending you more. And who doesn't want to keep learning and become a better photographer? Who knows where it could lead?
Just do it. Like that shoe company that I won't say for copyright infringement, you should do something. It should be it. Do that.
Is that the shoe company that rhymes with Mikey?
Rhymes with Taiki, yeah, for sure.
Okay, right on.
Taiki,
Just making sure.
Taiki and Mikey, they want you to do something. I think that thing should be it. Just it.
It should be it. Right on. All right, guys. Well, again, this has been an awesome episode of the Beginner Photography Podcast. If you liked it, let us know on our Facebook, facebook.com/Beginner Photography Podcast, on our Instagram, Instagram.com/Beginner Photo Podcast. And be sure to leave us a comment and let us know how much you enjoyed these episodes. We just really love your encouragement. And again, thank you so much for being here. We really appreciate it.
Have a great day.
Later.